Hey, I'm Antoinette, and for today's reset, I want to talk to you about the invisible weight that so many of us, including yourself, are probably carrying around. Let's jump in. Welcome back to the Midday Reset, friends. Today, I do want to talk about this whole mental weight and the mental heavy lifting that people are doing on a regular basis, but that I don't think we are acknowledging enough. I think that so far our culture has done well to acknowledge that mental illness is the illness that people can't see. It's the injury that no one's really going to see a cast or a bandage for. And so, therefore, it's something that is easy to overlook when you are first just glancing at a person and sort of sizing them up based on what you see. You can't see if that person had a terrible day the day before. You can't see if they are having a terrible day right now. You can't see if they just had a devastating conflict with their spouse. You can't see if they just got done being berated by someone. I mean, sometimes we get some key indicators that that's happened. We can see emotions on people's faces and in their demeanor a lot of times, but for the most part, we don't have any true telltale signs to say, okay, yes, this person was just berated, or yes, this person is having a rough day. We don't have any evidence of that. And so that's why it's really easy for us to disregard the weight that those types of occurrences can carry. And I really do want to get into the habit of terming this as mental strain or mental weight that those types of occurrences can carry. For some people, they can engage in conflict and then go on about their day like it's nothing. Other people, on the other hand, are going to feel very sensitive. The conflict is going to keep repeating in their minds, in their ears. They're going to keep hearing over and over again certain things that were said, or certain actions that were taken. They're going to see those on repeat in their mind's eye. And I think that we are doing a disservice to everyone if we don't at least get a little bit more honest about how we describe those things. Because truthfully, we have some people who work and who hang out in this more mentally heavy realm on a regular basis. And they do so because that is their craft, that is their niche, that is what they do. And that's a really commendable thing, the same way that ice fishermen put themselves at risk when they are out doing their jobs because the ice makes the boat slippery. The ice is very cold. If you fall into the water, you're pretty much done with that profession. No one's really going to jump in to try to save you. I mean, they might try a little bit, but because of the temperatures, there's not a big window that people can act within if they're going to try to help you. It's a dangerous profession. But I just wish that some of the creative professions, some of the more mentally taxing professions also received similar acknowledgement for all of that heavy lifting, all of that mental weight. And I think all of this is important as we continue to examine our world and the different people who are living in it. We have people in our world who are identifying in ways that 20 years ago was completely unheard of. We have people who are making space to have conversations that on the collective scale we have not had room for previously. And we also have people who, with this newfound room, are doing their best to try to navigate where they land within all of that. So, for example, if you're someone who identifies as being non-binary or being on the spectrum when it comes to your gender or being non-gendered, however you want to term that. But if you're someone who is now finding the room to explore that part of your identity that you didn't have room for before, I think that there's a lot of mental heavy lifting that you have to do with that too, because it involves going back and rereading some of the narrative and looking at some of your story and figuring out what parts were true, what parts were not true, and what parts am I going to keep as I figure out what my identity looks like. I'm sitting here recording this. Today's date is actually July 12th, 2021, and we are just about 5 days out from Tropical Storm Elsa, which at certain points was also Hurricane Elsa. And anybody who lives in a hurricane-prone area knows just what it's like to get the news that, hey, there's a storm that's formed, and then you get the news that, hey, it seems to be gaining strength and it's moving this way, and then you get the news that, hey, here's the path that it's projected to take, but that's not for another 5 days, so don't get invested yet. And then maybe a day and a half before this thing is actually supposed to hit you, that's when you find out what's really going to happen, because weather is unpredictable. We can't control these storms. I know that man would love to be able to do that, but we can't do that yet. We don't have that capability. I don't think we ever will, but that's another conversation. But the mental weight of, okay, hurricane form, hurricane's coming. Oh, hurricane's definitely coming. Hurricane is on its way. You better prepare now. And all of the text messages and stuff that get sent to your phone and to your email, and just, it's a lot. It was very, the reason that I have this podcast, as most people know, is because I'm someone who suffers from anxiety and depression. Although I have learned some very useful techniques in managing anxiety and depression in recent years. So I share those here. But even I have a hard time with adjusting to storm preparation. And then when things finally actually come to the day, the day that the storm's supposed to get to you, the day that the weather radio man said that you're supposed to experience either tropical storm conditions or hurricane conditions, it can either be really catastrophic, more catastrophic than you were expecting, or it can be grossly under catastrophic than what you were expecting. And thankfully, my experience has been mostly the latter, but I know that other parts of the world are not that fortunate. And in addition to sustaining property loss and physical loss, I can't help but pinpoint and draw back to this idea of the mental heavy lifting that goes along with that too. And I know that I had to take a few days off after Tropical Storm Elsa came Wednesday of last week, and Thursday and Friday of last week, I just really needed to recover. Hey, beautiful people. Thanks so much for tuning into my episode here on YouTube. You can hear the rest of this by going to Apple Podcasts or Spotify or iHeartRadio or any place where you get your podcasts. Take care and happy listening.